History books, eyewitnesses, even non-Christian sources record the crucifixion of Jesus. Yet, one verse in the Quran says it only seems so. Could God really have made the world believe in an illusion? Hello, welcome to the Missing Pieces Show. I'm your host, Asma, and today we're asking a difficult but important question. Did God let someone else be put on the cross instead of Jesus? Why would God allow that? The Quran teaches that Jesus was not killed nor crucified. Rather, it was made to appear so to the people. That line unsettled me a little bit, and I remember thinking, if God allowed people to be mistaken about such a central event, is that deception? That was the real question I had to face, is that did God deceive these people? They were there, they saw him, and then 100 years later, someone came and said, by the way, that is not him. Let's start with the verses. What does the verses say? In Surah An-Nisa 4, 157 to 158, it says, indeed, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah, and they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him. They have the word another in parentheses, and I'll talk to you in a minute about why they put that in parentheses, because the Arabic version does not have the word another. But the person that is translating, he's understanding it as another. All right, so here it says, but another in parentheses was made to resemble him to them, and indeed those who differ over it are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge of it except the following of assumption. They did not kill him for certain. Rather, Allah raised him to himself. Now, again, we'll notice in that translation, another, it doesn't exist in the Arabic translation. Shubbiha lahum. Shubbiha lahum, it means it appeared to them. So this one is very debatable. When I start to think deeper about these verses, it's not really clearly saying that there was another person replacing him, but all the Islamic sources and Muslim scholars talks about it as if it was replaced. It was someone else that took the place of Jesus. Now, on the other hand, the heart of the Christian claim is very different. It reports that Jesus was arrested, tried, crucified, died, and was buried, and was raised again 3 days later. So Christians hold the crucifixion and the resurrection as a central historical and theological event. That was real. The resurrection was real. Now, the big theological question I had to face was, would God deceive? In Islamic theology, God does not deceive people in the moral sense. But yet, there were a lot of verses that describe God as the greatest deceiver. Now, in your English translation, the deceiver, you will see the best planner. But makir, the word makir in Arabic, you know, if you speak Arabic, you know makir means deceiver. And one of the 99 characters of God is deceiver. I've struggled with that so many years. And how is it that God is a deceiver? My spirit rejected that. I rejected that because only the shaitan, only the devil, that is the deceiver. Now, What makes this question explosive is history and the witnesses. So many early resources, including Christian gospels and later histories, tell the story of crucifixion and resurrection. So when the Quran says crucifixion didn't actually happen, now we have the right to ask why. Because the witnesses were there, history is there. Now this becomes the missing piece. And we have to dig deeper and ask ourselves an honest question. Now, the theological heart isn't history alone. The question behind the history is, what does this event say about God's character, about God's justice and mercy and truth? When I first heard the substitution of Jesus on the cross, I was puzzled and uneasy, because I wondered, would God really allow such a confusion? The punishment that we received through Adam, that death, that separation, now we have a victory over it. We have a victory over that because of what happened on the cross. So it is significant that he actually died and rose again. And there is an actual verse in the Quran that talks about that. In Maryam 19 verse 33 says, "And peace on me the day I was born and the day I die and the day I should be raised alive." So this verse here aligns with what the Christians say. He actually did die and then he rose. There are some scholars that say, well, he's talking about when he comes back and he will rise again. But the reality, this happened and people witnessed that already. It already happened. Now, whether you believe he died 3 days or not, what Islam says, Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive. So if you think he's just a messenger, he's just a prophet, why is the prophet that is a human being still alive until today? Until the day he comes back again. Now in Islam, he's going to come back again and he's going to judge the Christians. Well, he's going to judge everyone, not just the Christians. Read the gospel accounts. Read the Bible, because that's the only time you're going to get the full picture. And you see yourself. It's not about winning an argument, but this is about being honest with our own selves. Because we are going to be on that judgment day. You're going to be judged. And you have to be honest with yourself. Be curious about God. You owe it to your faith to read both texts for yourself. So my friend, when we say somebody else was replaced, what you are really saying, my friend, is that God deceived these people. God is big enough for your honest questions. He's not afraid of your questions. He's not waiting for you to be going to hell just because you asked questions to get to know him better. I lived with hard questions too. And God is big enough for honest questions. Answers that I have found did not confuse me, but it clarified a lot of confusions I had. A lot of puzzle pieces that were missing that I was able to find, and that only in the Bible. You got to pray and ask God for wisdom to show you those missing pieces. This is Missing Pieces Show. I'm your host, Asma, and thank you for listening. God bless you.